All right. So who wants to go next?
I want to go
Uh,
next.
okay, go ahead, Mary.
Okay. So I learned that for every FM organization, there are three different levels. We have the operational level, we have the tactical level, and we have the strategic level. And I learned that as an FM, I should always think beyond just the operational level, that I should come up with strategic things. I should do things to make me differentiated in a good and valuable manner. So increase the services I offer. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay.
Okay, hello. Let me
Yes.
quickly
Hello.
come up because I'm
Okay.
driving actually. So let me quickly come up with my take home. Okay,
Okay.
I learned that in this facility management organization, I learned that we have some when we graduate from all this normal maintenance and operation that we do, there is an aspect of a capital project whereby you need to, in a way, get abreast of all the informations being carried on, or the work that is being carried out on the site. So you have
Okay.
to get used to every down steps or information that is there. And I learned that it is the the costs the performance, okay, the performance there, when we are talking about facility management organization, it helps or it enhances the performance of the facility manager, and at the same time it makes you to know the some particular things, or should I say rudiment, about facility management, then how to organize, how to arrange some of the aspects in your field or in your own jurisdiction as
Mm,
facility manager.
okay. Manager.
So
Okay.
that's what I
All
can
right.
say.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, can I come on?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, network is terrible here. Last lecture, I picked out something that is very key. I'm in Benin. I'm in admin and logistics. I manage our Lagos facility from here. I support that. We have somebody who is in this call too that is overseeing that. We have facility team. We have facility managers at source, not directly from us. So learning from here, we are not members of procurement team. We have procurement department different from what we do. Last lecture, I actually saw the needs for our presence at the procurement processes. I saw that coming out very strong. That since you are the one managing that site, you need to follow through vendors for different projects so that you can be able to conclude contracts and give documentation updates. I saw that in that last lecture, and it's coming out strong that they are supposed to be part of the team that's involved in vendor selection. They are supposed to be part of the team that decides who is the vendor to do what and which contracts to onboard them on. That came out very strong.
Excellent. Thank you. Madam Esther, you have something to say? You can unmute. You're muted.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay, I learned last week that there's no one size fits all in facility management, and that one requires basic information to create different structures for different facilities. So that was my take home last week.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much. Well done. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts on the last lesson. The ones we're going to be learning today will kind of extend from what we learned on Wednesday in our last class. Today we're looking at the facility management business. Just need to confirm, are we recording already? Some can I hear? Are we recording already? Okay. Okay, so when we start our careers as employees, many people who eventually start a business do not necessarily start from when they left school, especially in facility management. And there are quite a few reasons for that. When you study whatever we studied as our disciplines in the university, tertiary institutions, or secondary institutions, we are focused on either starting a business in that discipline or finding a job in that discipline. So it's likely that you would look for opportunities within that discipline. For those who don't find any job at all, they will think of starting some form of entrepreneurial endeavors. In many instances, considering the opportunities they find around themselves. So they start something, trading here and there, supplying certain needs and services for people to get paid. So it's either you started outright a business within that relates to your discipline, or something that is related to the needs you think those around you will need fulfilled. But most people get into employment and after a while become aware of opportunities in facility management because nobody went to school in a country like Nigeria to read a diploma of facility or master a bachelor's degree in facility management. Till date, we don't have that. So it's after you have gotten into the work environment or into some kind of transactions where you meet certain needs, people get to know there's a profession called facility management. And so what leads to businesses in our industry is usually after some time of doing something else, you get to the point where you now say, okay, this is what I want to do. Now, so two things I want to focus on amongst so many things in today's session is, one is that process of working in an organization, delivering service for salary or wages should be the preparatory ground for you if you are thinking of future entrepreneurship. Many people do their work as if they will only be employees all their career. They will never need to start a business. And so they don't acquire business acumen or skills. They don't demonstrate strategic business reasoning or decision making or commercial acumen within the work environment. And so when they get displaced, there are certain economic shifts that moves people from jobs, they tend to look at facility management or any kind of business and think that once I have the money, I go into the business, I'm fine, right? And more than 90% get their fingers burnt because they were not prepared for the world of business. So in the FM Mastercraft Diploma, we train people to prepare for the world of work and also for the world of business. Even if you don't intend to start and grow a business now, while you are still at work earning salaries, there is a way to show or prepare yourself, show that you are going to be worthy of a future business, the way you do the work today. Okay, so some of the principles we are going to be learning are things that you should begin to apply even as an employee as you work towards that time when you hope to start a business of your own. Okay. All right. So, and then many, get in, become very good in the profession. They've been appointed general managers in FM, lead facility managers. They've handled big operations. They manage, everything has been according to the processes of the companies that we work for. And then maybe at the end of the day, you want to start your own organization. All you come out with is managerial and technical abilities related to how to provide the services. When it comes to the business side of things, when we teach you strategy as an employee is to understand your corporate organization, the strategic objective, and plan and prepare your work in such a way that when you perform your duties, there is perfect harmony or alignment with corporate objective. You're basically doing exactly what the founders and visionaries of the organizations that you work in have in mind, which make you a star employee. But when it comes to running your own organization, you need to already start having a wider, a breadth of understanding, principles, and knowledge beyond the profession. So there is the profession, facility management as a profession. Then you now need to have the business profession. How do I start a business in Nigeria? How do I, get, transactions? How do I execute? How do I implement? How do I make profit? How do I plan and grow the business? What kind of impact do I want to make in the society because I'm running a business? Those kind of things are things that they are like, okay, so people say, oh, I go to a business school and then I go and learn it. Now, a business school is like a template that will teach you business principles, policies, procedures that you can adopt, right? But industry to industry now requires some kind of adaptation of business school concepts. So for us in this session, we're basically going to introduce you to business in the facility management space so that if you are either there already or thinking of doing that in the future, you will have some background understanding. And if you are working, you will be able to deploy entrepreneurial thinking, commercial acumen in support of the organizations you currently work for so that you will excel at what you do. Okay. Now we'll talk about some essential steps involved with starting a business. There are certain things, sometimes buzzwords, business plan, uh, market survey and stuff like that. We will break them down to a simple approach, something that we can easily relate with. And I'm going to, as much as possible, use the Max-Migold story as an entrepreneurial endeavor to push you. We learned a lot of strong lessons along the way, and we had fantastic results and efforts in the kind of impacts we want to make that we're still making, right? So we can learn from all of this as we go on. There are also regulatory environments that need to be satisfied. Many people don't realize how serious certain agencies are until you now need to do a job and the client says you must have a certain certification or qualification or license from a certain agency. And then you will now go and you hear, how things work to get those documentation. It's better you are prepared up front. You are not reactively trying to get things at the spur of the moment. You know that these are things that you should have in place. We'll talk about those as well as we go on in the session. And then, of course, in every industry, there are professional organizations or associations. These are also important for you as a business owner in the facility management space. If something happens and the company name is mentioned relative to certain projects or contracts, and the key stakeholders in that industry can't relate with you, there will be all kinds of eyebrows raised, right? So it's important that you don't, grab something in the industry and talk in and hide your face to enjoy it. You have to be visible. Being visible helps you to gain more recognition, help you to provide more impact and support to the industry, but also help you to get more by way of reputational improvements. So that once people are doing background checks and other things before they award you a contract, they know that you are within a community. And there's also a sense of protection for clients, who employ people who are within a professional community. So you can hide from that. We'll talk about that a bit. And then, the FM landscape, we just talk in this session about whose contracts, what kind of contracting models and what kind of, organizations are currently outsourcing in the industry. So pay attention is one of those classes where, like all my classes, if you participate and you are here, you tend to get a lot more than if you just hope to go read the slides, Of course, good enough for us too. We have the recording of the videos. So if you did miss the class or for one reason or the other, you got distracted, please revisit the video. The text in the slides will not do you justice. You need to, be really capture the content that was expressed. So in today's facility management industry, you need to stand out as a facility manager by having business skills. All of those technical knowledge we've been sharing needs to now be balanced with the business skills. Not enough to know facility management. You need to know business. It is business that was set up that you are working in. That business must succeed, must survive, must thrive. And it is a business you will go into eventually if you decide to pursue the entrepreneurial route and you want to learn the strategies for growth and development. And one of those principles you'll be learning is that of marketing. We'll spend some time talking about marketing yourself within your current organization, marketing your organization when you eventually have your own enterprise, because that is the secret source of success. I can't market. You will not succeed in either employee or entrepreneurial ventures. You have to know how to market. There's just really no shortcut to it. In fact, if you are a good producer, knowledgeable, skilled, professional, that's a producer that cannot market his skills and value so that people can pay for it. You will end up as a subsidiary, subscriber, employee, or contractor to somebody who is a good marketer. Somebody who is a good marketer can, take your idea, sell it for, fantastic amounts, pay you peanuts for producing the results. And the truth is, you will not be an island of knowledge. There'll be so many people who can deliver as much as you can, if maybe more, maybe less, right? But those who can really sell it, they are the ones that own the market and own everyone who can produce and have skills and value to sell. So, how to start a business? The business plan. How to test the markets, market survey. How to register a business. Legal and regulatory compliance, professional business memberships, business success principles. I'll spend some time on this, it's very important. FM market landscape, flow of FM services, FM market segmentation, and types of FM contracts are what we'll be covering in this session. Every business starts with an idea. But many people have started out their business idea based on something they like. So when I hear you say you like something so well, or you like doing something so well, or enjoying something so well, that it led you into a business, I see that as an upside down way of thinking. My business is not meant to serve me. My business is meant to serve those who will pay me. If eventually I start enjoying some of the perks for my business, enjoyment of things like, oh, I love working in this, I never get tired, oh, this is so much fun. But the important thing is I'm getting paid by others. So bottom line is my business should be based on the needs of my target audience. Don't allow your business to be solely hinged on what you like doing or what you like enjoying. Okay. So your business idea, that is the foundation of a good business idea. One, the people I have access to or can have access to, what do they need? In what format? Are they willing to pay for it? If they are currently having it today, in what formats? How much are they paying for it? What can I come in with by in form of innovation, a new way to do it, a niche branch of it, a lower cost, something has to instigate my going into the business. It's not enough to know people who need something. If they are already pretty well satisfied in that need, there's already a supply that is good enough for them. And I cannot look at that supply and ask myself, how can I break in to either be perhaps supplier of that service? Then my idea is dead on arrival. Okay. Now, if I operate in any industry, I don't want to walk into an industry where I am an outsider. You need to be an insider. Many years ago, when I had farms, I had a fish farm, I had plants, crops. I planted yams and cassavas and corn, and I had a palm plantation. I had a pig farm. So when I get involved in any of those kind of ventures, initially it's like I'm an investor. An investor brings money and look for insiders in that industry. Puts the money down and then they run the business. If those who are running the business are not entrepreneurial, they have not also invested, don't expect anything out of that business. Your investment is going to go down the drain, definitely. So it's actually better for you to take some time, go and understudy people in the business, start participating in their webinars and seminars and register in the associations. If possible, become an apprentice to a business in that industry. So you become an insider. So by the time you are coming in with your investment, you're not an investor, you are an entrepreneur. The same thing with facility management. Many people have jumped into the industry because of one opportunity they had, or a friend had an estate, someone managed the estate, they just picked up the business and then they moved on with it. Over time, they see that they're either stuck with that one estate and doing it poorly, but because of many forces that's keeping them there, they're still there, or they lose it and then they're out of the business. Because they are not facility managers. They never took time to go and learn the profession. And in many instances, they are not also good business people. They've not taken time to understand the business of facility management. So that makes you a complete outsider, and every outsider will find themselves outside before you know what's going on. So you need to be an insider, you must understand the market. And then you must carry out some feasibility study. Feasibility study and playing the mix and match game is, you don't need to just, because you saw one idea and you feel so strongly emotion, that sentiment that this is it, without doing any form of analysis, without asking questions, without taking out polls, without taking out acquiring data, more than 9 out of 10 times, that will be a failing business. Okay. So you have the idea. We've talked about the principles around how to set up an idea. When we started out in Max-Migold, just talking about the idea, I could have come out to say, I want to manage and operate facilities. I'm looking for contracts to manage facilities. Most people who were like me, well read, very well experienced in the industry, they all went that route. But I said, no, I want to close certain gaps within the industry. People were not being trained. People were just finding themselves in FM. Some training courses for 1 day, 2 day programs, maximum 3 days programs were here and there. Apart from 1 or 2 in the whole country, the others were being offered by HR firms. They really didn't know anything about FMs. They just pulled together slides from internet, and then they put somebody who can talk, who can read and write and talk, to start teaching people facility management. And in 1-2 days, those who have gotten some training say, yes, I'm now an FM. But even at that, more than 90% of those practicing in the industry never, ever got trained for 1 day. So the entire body of knowledge, as vast as it was in facility management, people were not even acquiring them. It was a purely reactive industry. There was very little innovation in our industry. There was very little by way of systems and procedures and processes of how things are done. And so we said, no, that's not right. We have to build capacity for the industry. Our building stock as a country is expanding. So there must be need for someone or some people who can help build capacity, train people, help organizations that have employed people who are untrained to, increase their capacity for more efficient service delivery. We also saw something that was coming up as a trend, not so strong at that time, because our energy was highly subsidized. Everything was subsidized, from electricity to diesel to petrol to gas. Everything was subsidized A to Z. So when we talked about energy efficiency some 10, 12 years ago, no, nobody was listening to us, right? But over time, what we saw as a major need, which was already critical, just that not many customers felt the pinch. They're making the money, they're paying the bills, and then they're moving on. So we wanted to close that gap. Energy efficiency, introducing innovations and technology. The third areas we looked at and we say, oh, people are still building, you know, buildings that once they are built, poor documentation, no drawings, no visual representations. Can we go into other technologies like video information modeling? And so we started looking for opportunities, started assembling a team, training, team that can build software to solve different problems, apply technology here and there. And we moved on with this because we saw that we can make, even if not too much, at least a little bit of an impact, and in the process get paid while doing that for the industry. And then eventually we know that once we have a good stock of trained professionals in the industry, we should be able to start, running operations and maintenance from a professional standpoint. And that has been effective for us because for the first few years we didn't, and then after 3 or 4 years, we started doing operations and maintenance, started picking up estates and commercial buildings to manage facilities. But everything had been in the plan all along. And we're very clear on what we want to do in the industry. We did market surveys. We went out, I'll talk about that as well. We went out, we actually employed a professional market research organization to do a survey, interview people, talk to them, get them to fill surveys, pull results together to look at the 4 key areas where we had in mind that we're going to establish our business around. And the feedback was really good, very, very promising. We then now need to look for a model to transform all this nice feedback to reality. Someone who can pay says I can pay. When the chips are down, will the person actually pay, right? So that's something that goes from a survey to the business to actually executing. And our lessons are quite mixed in this area. I'll share some of them with us as we go on. So what's a business plan? You have the ideas from what we've discussed. You've talked about the potential customers, their needs, how do we reach out to them, sell the idea to them, get them to pay for your service, how you will execute the service, how you assemble a team, the major inputs you're going to put together, and how you're going to deliver to the customer. These thoughts have to be firmed up and fleshed out. Now, firmed up and fleshed out does not mean that they will be cast in stone. The business plan answers to questions about the various aspects, the ideas, the customers, the markets, the operations, the delivery process, quality assurance. You put some of those topics and ask questions and you answer the questions. They don't necessarily have to be very long prose writing. They can be 1 or 2 pages, answers to each of those questions. But bottom line is, once you have that, you've now emptied what you are thinking in your mind about this business into paper, into a way, a visual display where you can now see what you had in mind. It's now easy for you to look at it. Sometimes when you have something in your head, it tends to overwhelm you, tend to feel so strong, so positive. You tend to be so sure that, this is a one-time hit. Once I get into this, pam, 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 you're not a billionaire. And, but when you now take your time to break it down, in a business plan format, you begin to see where the gaps are in your knowledge, your skills, your abilities, your network. Some people have the network to produce the solution. Startup that has designers, developers, software engineers, that network is fantastic. can get them. They're all in my network, but they don't have the network of buyers. Some people have the network of potential buyers, but they don't have the network of producers, the support structure that can help them fulfill the requirements of the buyers. Either way, you can't stand. If you produce something that is very good and you can't sell it, it will die. It will die off. If you have customers who are eager to buy whatever you bring, that you can get a team, a system in place, a process for consistently delivering good quality to them, they will run away and go for competitors, and then you also wither off. So that balance has to be there, and it needs to be identified while putting down your business plan. And then on the part of business plan not being set in stone, don't be hung on your business plan to the point where the markets, the economy is having some shifts and adjustments, and then you are being rigid because you wrote your business plan, therefore it must be. That's not how it works. It is subject to continuous review and revision. So have an open mind. If you start a business, it is important that you try to register it so that you will be operating legally. For businesses that is just you, one or two close friends, relatives, family members, or an employee, casually put together to start, it's okay, start doing something. Somebody says, come and manage my estate. I get 2 plumbers and 2 electricians. I come and manage my estate. Okay, I can pick up 2 plumbers and 2 electricians, pay them from my pockets, and the guy transfers money into my account as an individual. So it's now like a casual, informal arrangement. But if that estate is a big estate with a committee, they will probably not look in your direction. If you now decide to go to another estate to see how I can expand the business, of course you can come in as Mr. Paul. You have to come in as an entity, right? So registering the business helps secure the name, helps you set up for compliance, helps you gain recognition and reputation with potential clients, and helps you start working on the structure. We used to have a separate tax registration in those days, but now the CAC has made it that once you register, they put a tax number with it. And when you open an account with that certificate now, they also register your tax number in the bank. So the CAC, the federal revenue, the state revenue organizations, they have access to all companies' data, including their tax records. So if you're not complying to tax, they'll definitely come for you. Nowadays, they are still using social media to come for those who are making more noise, not those who are making more money. So that's a bit warped. But I know definitely they have the data, and if they want to work with it, they can really do it. And then necessary licenses. There are certain levels of growth you will get to. I'll talk about this. License permits are very key. You want to work in the oil and gas industry, that free contract you won't be given in the oil and gas industry, except you have the NUPRC permits, you have the NMRC, that's the midstream petroleum commission, and then you have the upstream. You have things that have to do with taxes. You have things that have to do with financial reporting council. There are so many things that will come to play. I'll touch on a few of them in a bit. Now, for startups today, in times past, in years ago, having a premises, having a signboard, where people can drive by and say, that company does so and so, let's go, and used to be a big deal. So it's good to have a premises, but it's not one of the first things you should put your money on. When we started out Max-Migold, I was so excited. I needed to, start on a very corporate level. I set up an office, furnished the whole place, hired a couple of staff, started talking to people about my new business. As I left paid employment to start Max-Migold, I had about 15 million naira in my account. Then I'm like, that's enough. I'll just put it in, and then I was just making hundreds of millions within a short while. I ran it all out. I've not made a single sale. By the next year, when I made some sales to run my first training, I met a major disappointment. I was running my first training with a foreign partner who was, gathered some money, bought the tickets to fly him in from Canada. This man was flown into the country. Before my very two eyes, immigration refused to allow him out of the airport. They said they will not issue him visa on arrival. He should go back to Canada and go and get the visa. It was like a joke. I can laugh now, but I wasn't laughing then. I wasn't laughing then because it was 4.8 million naira that just went down the drain. I saw them take him out of the counter, put him back into the next flight going back to Canada for us to get a visa to bring him back. So it's tough when you start with some lean capital and you see it run off. So premises is like paying the landlord first. I don't think that's necessary. If you have where you're staying, set up a website, and websites are now cheap, unlike before. We couldn't do any website for less than 400, 300,000 when money had value then. But now you can buy a domain for 15,000 naira. You can get a subscription for a hosting now at $40 a year. So that's somewhere around 60,000 naira. And then you can install a WordPress plugin and use one of those automatic website builders like Wix and others to start a page where you just, mumbo. Now with AI itself, you can even just tell the AI what you want to have on your website, and they will create a simple page for you. What you really want is a page that presents your information, a lead magnet, a drawer where people can, contact me for this, fill this form so that I can get your details. And then I can use that details that you filled in here to be emailing and calling you, and then my business can start from there. Start from there, and when you have the forms, you can now go for premises. Okay. So when it comes to capital, startups, every time you hear about startup funding, in the Nigeria context, nobody really wants to fund a startup. Everybody wants to see that you have moved from zero to something viable before they can now say, okay, let's put something on you. We don't also encourage that you should go and take a loan because you have an idea. Let that idea be run through some personal savings, some family funds, some kind of internal sacrifices from friends and family. Let it start from there and let that idea begin to turn into something that is gaining some traction. Then you can now say, okay, let's bring in more equity investors into the business. The reason for this is, one, you will not price your business properly when you don't have traction, when you don't have some customers, some revenue to show. You don't have a proper record yet. No, you won't price it properly. Somebody can see you and say, oh, you don't have anything, right? Okay, like in the case of my 15 million. Can I give you 15 million to start this business and I will have 6% or 70% of the business? As at that time, if I didn't have that 15 million, for example, I would have jumped on that, ended up as a minority shareholder. Of course, there are very big businesses in the world today where the owners hold very little shares, and yet someone like Jeff Bezos in Amazon is holding maybe less than 20% or less than 15% of his business, but he's the richest man in the world, right? Because business is really, really, really humongous now, right? But you see, those letting go of shares to bring in more shareholders so those can become mega did not happen in the first day. That's why he's managed to be a billionaire, because as he's gaining traction, the business valuation is, increasing. More investors come in, he yields some shares, and as he yields those shares, the business gets bigger. What is left in his hands, maybe 60% or 10% or 12%, is still more than what the 100% was before he brought others into the organization, right? So start from internal source to pick up your business. Okay, so I've talked about the whole idea of, getting the ideas, putting together the business plan. These are some of the things that should be in the business plan, right? What's your vision? The vision is the end result of your business. Where are you? What's your destination? Your mission statements should be very clear. It should define how you get to your vision, what you'll be doing, how you'll be perceived along the path. The philosophies of your people, your thinking, the type of business you want to go into. There's what we call a business model that defines what comes into the business, what does the business do, what the business gives out, right? So everything from source of capital to source of materials to targeting of customers. There's a whole canvas for developing a business model that you will need to learn as you move on. Of course, you have the ideas. You need to enhance these ideas, and that might mean talking to other people who have operated things in this area. I doubt if you will still find something so niche that nobody has done in the world, right? But you want to learn everything around what you have in mind so that you can know how to carve out your niche. And even that carving out your niche does not mean that you're going to reinvent the wheel. It's just something that should speak to certain customers' needs that you are looking for. Okay, so talking about business markets surveys, you're trying to just gather information, ask questions to estimate the size, potential, capacity of the market to sustain your idea or vision. Sometimes you have a fantastic idea and the market is not just ripe for it. And if it's not ripe for it, then you can't do it. Sometimes I think about new business models all the time in my industry and other industries. And I'm trying to crack my head, to see if it's marketable. If it's not marketable, I can't push it. So sometimes ideas can just die off at the point of market survey. If I investigate the market and the potential customers I'm targeting, they are not too keen, not too positive, I won't push it. It just makes no sense trying to push it. Okay. And again, when it comes to surveys, you can't talk to everybody. At some point in the growth of your business, you're going to try to market to as much as possible in your choosing audience, right? But during surveys, you take a small sample and you ask them the questions you need to ask them to get a sense of what the industry or the market is about. Okay, so starting the business in Nigeria, what formats should the business be looking at? There is a elementary level where you start a business name. To register a business name is like giving yourself a company name that represents you. A business name, when it's registered, does not create another entity. It's a new name for you. You and that company are the same. So the company cannot owe people and you will be free of that indebtedness. No, company cannot make promises and you say, it's not my promise, it's the company's promise. No, you and the company are the same. So at this point, you are just creating a brand or an identity just to replace your name when running that business. Business name registration is what we used to call it sole proprietor. Used to be a single individual ownership, but since 2020, the laws have changed to allow two people, husband and wife, two friends, to start a business name. So you can have a business name that has two people who are in it, equal in shares. So in the business name, you won't see one person has 5%, the other one has 95%. If there are 2 days, it's divided by 2. If you are 3 days, it's divided by 2, because it represents all of you. I think it's just 1 or 2 you can have, really. The private limited, the LTD, is the one that is the legal entity. When you create a limited liability company, you have created another entity completely different from your personality. That entity has its own personality, has its own ideology, has its own. Of course, you are forming all of that and creating it, but the law allows you to, it's like creating a robot that has its own identity that can act on its own, even though you are the one remotely controlling it. So that's how the limited liability companies work. And before 2022, it could not be created by less, it has to be between 2 and 50 people that can have ownership of a limited liability company. But as of 2020 to date, now you can have an individual is proprietor having a limited liability company, which means as an individual can create a limited liability company that's an entity in himself that has the rights to all legal recognition. Okay. So between the two, really, which are the common businesses we start, when you are doing things, shop floor, basic, things, business name. But when you are trying to now start engaging, especially in the B2C space, a simple shop, a trading, a consultant, one-man shows, you can also use the business name. But once you start getting into business-to-business interactions, getting contracts from estates, getting FM jobs from companies, getting contracts to maintain or repair to supply with entities. Entities want to work with entities, not with individuals. So that's where limited liability companies come in. Besides, the brand also makes you stand out. There's some level of recognition, corporate profile that comes with a limited liability company. The limited liability company and the public limited company, PLCs, the difference is in the number of owners. Once ownership becomes very large, more than 50 or 100 or so, I think more than 50 really, you have become a public limited company. Limited liability companies that are private, LTDs, you don't have too much stringent regulatory enforcement in terms of looking oversight of your transactions and your activities, because your impact on the public is limited to the few people that you are friends who created it. But once you now sell shares to a vast number of people and put in a large crowd to become co-owners, you cannot just do anyhow, because it will affect more people in the community. So the government set up the Securities and Exchange Commission, the stock exchange for those who get listed, and so on, to make sure that there are more stringent public reporting and transparency requirements for PLCs. Now, in the limited by guarantee, this is what you set up if you are trying to create a commercial enterprise that is non-profit. So there are some businesses today, very expensive, wide margins, premium, but the owners, people who created it, are not allowed by law to amass the profit. So all the profit the business makes is plowed back in the form of surplus for growth and expansion. So you see some very large private schools, universities that are very expensive, making a lot of surplus, but it's all plowed back. It doesn't mean that those people who founded it will not be able to buy some private jets as official company jets for them to fly around and live in some large houses as company provided residences. So the law has a way of regulating that they don't put all the money in their pocket as profit, but the organization can put their lifestyle for the work that they do within the organization. That's how a limited by guarantee organization works. And because they position as non-profits, people tend to have sympathies for non-profits. They posture as social impact, social investment, something that gives back to the community. We are not exploiting. This is not about profit, right? So if you're thinking about running your business in that area, you could benefit from such sympathies, such goodwill, I'll say, from the public, and your business can easily, grow very great. Especially when you now have a team like a committee, a governance board that starts it, and then they oversee the executive team, pay them their salaries, and make sure that nobody's actually, misappropriating those resources that they are getting in. It can be a good deal. And then you have the unlimited company. Unlimited companies is just basically they're commercial, they are for-profit organizations, LTD or PLC, just that the subscribers or owners don't have limited liability. They are unlimited. So what this simply means is, when you create a new entity, that entity can be sued, right? But if it's an unlimited liability organization, there is a mingling of liabilities between the subscribers or founders and the company. So whoever is doing business with an unlimited liability company will feel more confident that if the company goes liquidated or goes under, they can have recourse on the funds of those who created it. Unlike when you are a limited liability company, whether public or private, if that company goes bust, the courts or anything can only liquidate what's in the name of the company. They cannot come and touch the owners and operators because their own liabilities are different from that of the company. And even though they took a decision that led to the companies going under, there's a limit to which we can, when we don't see anything in the company anymore, go over to their side. And they have the incorporated trustees, so associations, professional bodies, or whatnot are created under the incorporated trustees. These are completely not for profit, but also not commercial. They have an ambition, they have a goal, they have a vision, they have a set of obligations, that they want to accomplish for the society. And they created a trustee based on that. So the process of registering businesses in Nigeria is pretty straightforward. Well, it used to be very straightforward. I think recently, before you could just log into the CAC portal, create an account, use your card to pay certain fees and do all your business registrations. So it used to be fun, but now you need to go through certain agents, certain what we call them now, licensed consultants that will help to, do all the processes and stuff. So accountants and lawyers are most common in that area, in that space. But it doesn't stop other professionals if you can have professional license to present to the CAC and they register you. They will give you the license and they give you an access to their portal to do this on behalf of others. Okay, so what are some of the legal and regulatory compliance requirements? The first thing is tax clearance. Tax clearance is usually printed or processed as 3 years tax clearance. So the first year you set up your business, you apply for tax clearance. There will be 2 years of pre-operation or not existent, and then the last year of just starting operation. So if you show 000 tax clearance, so you need to get tax clearance certificate. It's required by so many organizations, whether private or public, that you have tax clearance. It also helps to set straight that you are starting well. some businesses start, and after a lot of years is when they now begin to look at tax. In fact, it's the tax authority that come to knock on their door and say, hey, where are your tax? Where are your books? We need to look at it. That's when you now start wondering what's going on. And if what the tax authority are doing now, you tend to go by, they now use BVN to download bank statements, and then they analyze it within their offices. And they, because you're doing any filing, they just come to your door one day and then use the entire turnover that they see running through your account, whether it's borrowed funds or people's funds, doesn't matter. And they just put a percentage of it and say, this is your tax liability, right? And they try to shut you down at your peak, try to embarrass you, try to take you to court, shut you down and all kinds of things. And that will be very, not very good. And then there is also the remittances that you must make. So if you sell anything, management services or facility services, you add 7.5% to the bill of the client. That money is not for you to add to your bill. You take it and pay it to the government, and they give you a receipt for it. If you provide service to any organization, they are obliged to take 5% of it as withholding tax and pay it to the government. Now, why do those two taxes exist? The withholding tax is an amount deducted and held for you by the government, pending when you come and do your filing. If you do your filing, they will not see how much profit you make and tell you how much percentage of that profit belongs to the government as tax. They will not deduct what has been previously kept for you as withholding tax from that, and then they'll apply it as credit. If you made more profit than your credit covered, you'll not pay the extra. If you made less profit, the credit will be carried over to future profits. But VAT is VAT. It's the spender's money. Whoever is spending on that service or product is the one paying VAT, and government needs that from everybody. And of course, there is the pension deductions and the National Housing Fund and the payee. They will come for all of this. Some of these things don't start until you have certain number of workers, right? So if you and one or two persons, you probably won't need this employee part. But I think after 3 or 15, there's a certain number that this would begin to apply. And then, of course, there's the ITF, the NSITF, Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, and the Industrial Training Fund. These require you to take 1% of employee salaries, pay it into this insurance and training fund. And you're supposed to be able to tap into these funds. They are like trust funds are like insurance funds where if you train your staff, you should be able to write to them and say, reimburse me for training my staff. If a staff is injured or something happens or dies, you have to go to the social insurance trust fund and say, this person we've been paying on, this person we have pay social insurance to the family based on the law that sets you up. So this is how the system is set up. To work in the oil and gas industry, of course, you have the DPRO, now NUPRC, NIPEX registrations to do. Lagos has so many agencies. The signage industry agency is one. There are so many permits, licensing agencies in Lagos that you need to know. Local governments also have their own. Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, have theirs. EFCC for financial crime prevention returns. They will require you to register with some of these security agencies. So those ones are monitoring money laundering. Somebody can walk to your business and drop some Ghana must go bags of Naira for you to start the business, not accounted for. If that money is from an illicit source, these agencies want you to certify that that money is not an illicit source. And then the same thing with Financial Reporting Council. They want every organization to register with them. They want to just be sure that businesses are being done right and accounting books are being kept according to the standard, the International Financial Reporting Standards that they have prescribed for reporting finances in the country. And then, of course, your professional bodies. So many professional bodies in Nigeria today for facility management. We have the Association of Facility Management Practitioners Nigeria, AFMPN. It's on this list. I need to edit this list to include AFMPN. It's the national body of FM, right? So if you are into air conditioning, you join the ASHRI. If you're into fabrication, all kinds of engineering or consultancy, you join the NSC, Arcon, and so on and so forth, different professional bodies. It's just important that you present yourself to these professional bodies so that you can get recognition for what you do in the industry. All right, I'm going to take a 5 minute break. I would like for someone to put that in the group that we are on break for 5 minutes if you're listening, and then we'll be back to look at business success principles. Thank you. All right, welcome back. Okay, what makes a business succeed? I just put a few points here. I'll run through them and share my insights and thoughts about them. You can have additional insights about them, but and this is not a, a solid, um, rock solid list. You can expand on this, and this is just a compilation from experiences and surveys of people who have started small organizations and blown into mega organizations over the years. They start with an entrepreneurial mindset. An entrepreneur is someone who takes risk, who understands opportunities, and knows how to, uh, you know, uh, create solutions that adds value to the lives of uh, the customers. If you can add value to the customers, you can command reciprocal returns. That's entrepreneurship. So everything that's built into that, commercial acumen, customer focus, innovation, everything seems to build into that entrepreneurial mindset. I know how to put in 1 naira, make 50 kobo out of that 1 naira, while making the customer feel like I've given 5 naira. Find a need in the marketplace. We've talked extensively about this. This is really the key to starting the beginning. What you love, passion. It's important that you love to do the job that you have picked for yourself. Otherwise, you will not be improving. You will not have a sense of ownership, and the business will die. It's also important to have a strict fiscal discipline. Fiscal discipline is financial discipline. That's separation of business from myself when it comes to money. My money should not be my business money. My business money should not be my money. It's not I'm not running the family, I'm running the business. The business should make money for me. When the business actually makes money for me, I should take the money and put, in my own account as my own money. If in any time in the future the business needs to borrow from me, it should sign an agreement with me that it is taking money from me, because at some point in the future, I need to be able to take that money out of the business. That's what fiscal discipline really means. Not when you have a business account, you have an ATM card on the business account, and you stop by to buy shawarma and do your weekend shopping from your company account. And then when somebody comes to do ad banners for you in your organization, you check and there's no money in the company account, you use your own ATM from your own account to make payment. They just do transfer from your personal account. There has to be that firm separation, and it requires that you as a business owner value your work for the company and pay yourself a salary. This is not profit. This is not because you are the owner. Many owners tend to make that mistake of working for the company as if it's supposed to be free, as if it's it's when the company has money in the future, that's when I should make a profit from separate profits from the work. I started the business, so I'm entitled to that profit when it comes. But today, if I work in the business should pay me. If anybody else works in the business should pay that person. So even though, we try to ensure that, people that come into the business are paid first, you still need to put it down that you need to be paid so that you can have money to spend on your own side, different from spending the company money. Have a kitchen cabinet of advisors. Advisors who have been by themselves and on their own successful in running business. Not mediocres, people who whose ideas have not led them to success. You now want them to advise you, they will advise you into the ground. Okay. And you don't necessarily need too many advisors, just a few successful people who have your interests at heart. Some successful people, seemingly successful people, don't have your interests at heart. They could harm you in terms of advice. So think carefully about people that you want to. They can be your mentors, right? You can look up to them, not necessarily to take their advice or to consult them. There are people who are successful on the surface, and you can see their moves, you can copy their moves, you can see how they get customers, you can learn from them, but you don't go to seek advice from them. Those who you seek advice from are those who have decided that as they are succeeding, they also want you to succeed, and they should be giving you tips in addition to what you also observe, and see them do. Have a defined brand. It's important to have a brand. When we started Max-Migold, we said, you know what, we want to start from somewhere, but we want to lift off. So that logo that sounds like taking to flight, we didn't want it to look like, we didn't want to necessarily portray a bird, right? Because of the way churches have taken over the birds, flying down, flying up, different types of birds. So we depicted it with an image that, that is wing-like, but not necessarily a bird. But the colors, the gold and the green, sustainability, and the maximizing our potential tagline were all part of that brand, because we knew we want to build capacity, we want to create innovative technology solutions, we want to solve all the frictions we have in the built environment, or as much as possible, make people better than we made them. That's the whole idea and the vision. Identify the highest priority actions that help you fulfill those needs. So there are certain activities that when you as the founder or the innovator do it yourself, it leads to greater impact. There are some low priority items that support, that uphold, that you can allow other people to do, right? So you delegate those ones out. In the early days, much of the work of logistics, procurement, even outsourced, we're outsourcing certain tasks. A lot of tasks we outsourced because we're just myself and one person, one assistant, and later I had two more. 2 years later, before we went from 3 of us to about 5 of us. So it took that long to increase them, because we really didn't need everybody in-house. So we will call people up, can you do this work, can you do that work, and pay them in a package fee for that, all outsourced. Your business should be structured in such a way that it maximizes profit. Don't be afraid to charge profitably. If you are confident about your solution, if you are confident about your capacity to deliver on that solution, and you are focused enough that you will give that customer value for money, please be ready to charge adequately. There are some businesses that are been on for so many years. They're just there, stagnant, because they don't think that customers can pay. And the worst thing is when customers who can pay now begins to look for who they will patronize, they don't go to you who's not charging adequately. So package yourself well and be able to charge something that's profitable for you. And profit should not be spent. Sometimes we tend to think that every time you make a profit, you just spend everything back in the business. Many business people have trudged through their businesses for years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. They've not paid themselves. They've not taken anything out. I know a few who have even died in the process of still dreaming and building the business. When you make some profits, let some go back inside it, but let some, stay elsewhere. So many times the business now, gets to a chokehold situation where some small money, 1,500,000 is needed, and You look right and left, you cannot see that money. That's when you go to that saved profits to pull that part out to make a lift. But if you see everything as continuous investment, yeah, you probably not. I know this is common for entrepreneurs. We feel that this next move is going to break us out and everything is just going to change for us. I've seen this at least 10 times in 10 years. That's not always the case. In fact, I had to, as part of this kitchen cabinet of advisors, come up, admit some new board members who I saw as very intelligent, young director, very intelligent, fantastic business idea, and he's been coaching me. So every time I want to take any decision in my business, I go to him to say this and say, look, do this, do this, do this. And every time he tells me that, I see that it works. I see that it works. Many times there are some things that I normally wouldn't think in that direction. I just no. If somebody would advise me like that, I say this person hates me. But then I just try it. I had a project once where I needed to impress the clients. I had to spend something to just impress the client, and it was going to cost me about 7 million naira. And then he said, is it in the scope? I said, no. I said, if I do it, the client will be very impressed and blah, blah, blah. He said, how do you know? Can you do what he asked you to do first and see how impressed he will be with the basic thing he has asked for before you go and use 7 million to try to impress him? Just thinking through that and sticking to what was on the project, I realized that if I had spent that 7 million, that 7 million would have just been a wasted 7 million because it would have had no impact. The client still went in another direction to make demands in another direction. I was completely different from what I thought would be nice to have for that client. So always think about how to manage funds. I'm going to throw it all around. I'm thinking that will make a break for you. The team that you employ, they need to understand the values and needs of the clients. They must be aligned to the core values of your organization and be focused on customer service. You don't set up a business because of the needs of your employees. You set up the business because of the needs of the customers. Now, taking care of the needs of the employees starts with helping them understand what the needs of the customers are and helping them understand why you are putting that investment in taking care of their needs is to reciprocate and feed the customer requirements. Otherwise, we'll all go bust, right? And they say cash position is cash is king in business. If you think about business, all kinds of transactions, one thing that supports this cash principle is what I talked about before. Make sure you price so that you can be profitable. But some people price profitably and their monies are not paid. You have all kinds of debtors in the business. I would rather slash the price to half and take that half now than to expect you to pay me the full later after I've delivered the service. I don't like being owed. I don't like being owed. Very few people can owe in my business. In fact, just today, I accepted a contract where I'm going to spend more than 150 million to execute, and they will pay me, in 6 weeks or 8 weeks time, and then try to get the funding to execute it. I started seeing all kinds of delays and snags about, funding that project. And I said, no, you know what? Pay me upfront, even if it's a part of it, so that I can execute it. And I said, okay, take it. A very large contract. There is this thing about risk in business. Companies outsourcing to you want you to find the money to feed them, and then they take the tone, they specify the quality, tell you when you didn't do it well, and sometimes begin to drag, paying your balance or paying you at all. So people in the public sector have lost their entire livelihood because of this indebtedness. So if you can structure your business around getting paid either in full or majorly in parts before starting any engagement to help your cash position. Make sure you can expand the vision. The vision should be big enough to accommodate the potential in the markets, and then put energy into innovation and research. You cannot be stuck in this is how we used to do it. Okay. So if you look at organizations that have outsourced, what is the landscape like today? Key players, which companies have outsourced their FM? What's your assessment? Think about it and do an introspection. In other classes where I put this to a question in the physical class, for example, you will see that companies in certain industries have been very, very focused on outsourcing FM. The oil and gas industry, for example, they always outsource facility management. They want to focus on their core business. The telecom industry is still a 50-50 approach. The retail industry, the malls and the rest, they have mostly outsourced their FMs. Communities and estates, still a 50-50 thing. Not all of them are outsourced. Some of them have employed operations manager, facility manager, and the committees, run around trying to guide them. To a large extent, they tend to stumble, make big mistakes compared to those who have actually outsourced and have a professional company they hold accountable for the quality and the experiences they have in their estates. Okay. So something that has not really improved, I think that's changing now. For the first, 30 years of practice of FM in Nigeria, from let's say 1990 to 2020, you would have seen that there were just about 10 to 15 companies consistently. Not much new companies were breaking into the rank, and they were not really doing so much to grow the market. Companies were kind of sluggish. And that's mainly because the market was not mature. Customers outsourcing their services were not, there was no much eagerness to outsource services to facility management companies. Companies were still doing things internally, so they employ somebody to manage. That person employs technicians and cleaners. Maybe they outsource security and cleaning sometimes, but most of the maintenance and operations were kept in-house. So if you start an FM company and companies are not outsourcing to you, you will not grow, right? But even then, there was also another problem in the industry. FM companies were expected to spend the money upfront, pay salaries, pay for the diesel, pay the vendors, provide supplies. Are they banks? You are supposed to come in and use your expertise to manage resources for the clients. And the client does not put the money down for you to provide the services, and they're expected to go and take a loan or have the funds to provide all those services and then submit an invoice that you'll be paid blah, blah, blah amount. Those were some of the frictions that we're trying to fix. I, for one, would tell you, the client agrees, I'll say, you know what, let's separate the bills into two. They are the fixed costs that we already know. These are salaries, these are fixed supplies, these are maintenance activities. Let's lock this in, pay those ones upfront so that I know that I can give you steady services on an ongoing basis. And then when it comes to reactive work, you want me to change your street light and interlocking tiles and repaint your estate, we can now negotiate, how those projects will be executed, pay me in advance and execute them, or pay me the full money and execute them. Otherwise, if you have to get the FM company to go and find the money to execute, we might still be struggling with quality in the industry. So that's just my assessment of the markets. There are many things that should push organizations to outsource. And there are companies that are fully outsourced, apart from the oil and gas industry and multinational, because they are outsourcing in other countries. Companies coming from the US, from Europe, from any part of the world to Africa. They don't come here and start employing cleaners and gardeners and maintenance people, because they see the value of outsourcing from the clients that they are coming from. Now, if you don't get companies that is going to outsource the entire management to you based on the models we discussed in our last class, you definitely will have those who want to manage themselves and award contracts in these areas: custodial, space management, hot desking, welding, office supplies, electrical services, generator services, painting services. So start from somewhere, and this is something that I've noticed in the industry too. A cleaning company begins to pitch for maintenance, and after a while, it begins to become a facility management company. So a construction company will say, oh, I want to do post-construction operations and maintenance. And then from there, they submit in a quote or proposal for full FM. And in many cases, they go and create an FM subsidiary and say, you come and take over the FM, we can hand it back to you to run from here. And it still goes back to the same person. So don't wait until you now have, companies that can outsource everything. You can start from somewhere: health and safety, security management, from fleet management, catering services, consulting, training, space management, and so on and so forth. You can start from anywhere, and then you can build your way up in the hierarchy. Okay, so we covered all of these types of FM contracts in our last class. We'll talk about the IFM, the TFM, and the types of contracts that you normally encounter in the FM industry. So that's where I'm going to end today's presentation, and I will open the floor for your questions. Can we please come on screen so that I can have a conversation? I want to hear your thoughts about this class and answer your questions.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
I just want to ask, you were talking about one particular thing, because those are my challenge, because the FM provider, like a service company, but we recently, entered into the industry, like, let's say 2 months ago, we recently entered into the company, but this company that registered for a long time is a limited liability company. But because I'm coming from a company that we deal with oil and gas mostly, and it is a PO base. Now, we use our own money, and oil and gas is always capital intensive. So we use most of our money to execute all these projects. Now, going to facility maintenance, there's something you said there that it has been bothering my mind. Now, going to a facility maintenance, now using, we diversify because we don't want to do the same thing that we're doing the other side. So we're looking at, okay, pay us 80% ahead, then 20% after the job has been completed. But we realize that the company that we are working with, because it's all about networking, because we realize that there is a gap in those organizations, and that is why we move into, because like you rightly said, in FM space is the market is big, but the company are small, depending on how innovative you are you getting me? Because we went to a particular company to the BVN, are you getting an international company, and with your teachings, I would like to you, it is a must for everybody. Even when I through with this one, when you're doing the next one, most of my team have to be here. Are you getting me? So we went for an interior issue, because in my organization, we handle both FM, post-construction service, and interior. But we went for the FM, and when we were talking, when we were there for interior, but when we were there, we realized that their file are not well positioned. That's where I learned about asset management, the life cycle, their chairs are bad. I really enjoy, I'm proud to be part of your student. I would like to, because today when I was speaking to them, all of them, I was entering to one particular offices to another, and they were looking at me, and the accountant understood what I was saying, because I learned those things from you. But where I'm going to, particular to what I'm asking is, we take some job. Recently, I picked some job worth $1 million. I have to use my money to execute this job. waiting in the next 60 days
for them to pay.
To be paid. So in a situation whereby now we want to, because my concern now, we want to do an interior job for them. That we didn't do any graphical something for them. We want to. So if we do that particular, at the end of the day, look at that. This thing is not okay. Go and do this thing. Go and do this thing. It now becomes like a setback. Because you said something which I really appreciate. You said that sometimes you allow them. Okay, these are my staff. Pay them. These are. This okay, I will do the lighting. And I want you to please explain in that angle, because I think that is where I needed it most. I need it most because, okay, my facility manager came to the office today. They have a small project to do in one particular African group. They have a lot of, and he was telling me that because the money is too small that we need to do. I said, okay, get an approval before I can give you a particular amount to go ahead. Because those organizations, they do like 80% upfront, then 20% after the job.
Yes.
But most of my clients are oil and gas. Most of my clients are oil and gas, like Egbin Power PLC, Shell and Shell. Are you getting it? These people are, they do PO base. How will I be able to handle these people?
Okay, now, so this is the challenge with this the industry. Even those organizations, they have a threshold. When you break into that large contract threshold, the PO will indicate milestone payments. It will not be when you are finally done. Take, for example, most construction projects, even in the oil and gas, as you are winning the contracts, they will give you a 40% or 30% mobilization. After you reach a certain milestone, they'll give you another 30% again. And then when you finish, they'll now give you the balance, right? Less, maybe 5 or 10% as retention. So they have, but when they are doing small projects, they will use that 30, 45, 60 days options to set up their PO system, right? So at the level you are operating at the level where you have to get your money to go and execute. Of course, you have make sure your margin is okay. That's one thing I said about being profitable. Don't, when you are going to work for somebody, factor in cost of finance. Even though the money is in your bank, in your account, I have that 1 million in my account and I'm going to use it to do a client job. I will treat that 1 million as if I'm giving it as a loan.
Cost of fund.
Cost of fund, exactly. I'll factor that into my margin, right? So I'll present them prices that will be reflective and make it profitable because I know their payment terms. Now, but companies that do those kind of payment terms, their payments are often ledger driven, which means on that day, the money rolls out. You understand? So you don't have any problem. But there are some companies that they will not want to copy that oil and gas PO style and now want to give you a job and tell you that 30 days, 40 days, 60 days, they will pay you. That's when they will not start telling you, paper has gone to here, it has gone to here, director is not around, every traveled. Run. They will run you out of the market. I would rather, so if you can't pull it off, don't push it. I just mentioned that I dropped a 200 million job today. I just returned it back today. They cancel the PO because I have looked right, left, everywhere, and I cannot, the banks that say they will bring out money to fund it, all of them started asking too many questions, and it started leading to inconvenience. Let it go. We have other businesses we can chase tomorrow. It's better to have peace of mind, right, than to chase money into a hole and still be out of business and still be out of peace. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So when it comes to that facility management operations job, if I bring cleaners, they'll be paid monthly. That's fixed cost. Their cleaning supplies is monthly. That's fixed cost. The cleaning equipment, I can prorate that one and say if I buy some equipment for 10 million, I prorate it for 12 months. Every month is 800,000, for example. That's fixed cost. You understand? everything that goes into the operations and maintenance, I will put it at fixed cost. Fixed cost should be paid upfront. But in the process of doing the job, if something breaks down and I have to do a quote for that, that becomes a small project category. Yeah, where I can say,
sorry, sir, can you repeat
pumped.
yourself? Please, can you repeat yourself from
Okay, good. So if I, in the process of running that fixed operations, a pump or generator breaks down, right? I will scope it, I'll submit a quotation, right? Based on that quotation, when they accept it, they can now issue me a PO to say, go ahead and fix that thing. And if that PO is a small amount, it falls under the 60 days, 30 days, whatever the payment terms they agree on the contract with me, I can use my money to fund it, but I put enough margin to ensure that my cost of fund is covered. Okay. But the day-to-day running of their facilities, the buying of diesel for them, the buying of cleaning materials and paying salaries should be paid up front 100%.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, so well done, everyone.
Okay.
In the absence of any other question,
Please,
I'll
I have a
say
question.
thank you. Okay, yes. Who's speaking? I didn't see
Hello,
your
good
hand
evening, sir.
up. Good evening.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sorry. Good evening, sir. Okay, sir, I want to find out how can someone separate business and emotion?
Mm-hmm.
So actually, what really happened? Yes, actually, what really happened is that in the estate, so there have been an issue from the former facility manager and other people that have been partnering with him. So until when I came on board, so people think that I will still be like that. So until with time, they began to see a difference between me and the former person. So now, some people, some other residents also, they started noticing that this particular person is different. So even though there's a little issue, they will calm down. Before it wasn't like that, even with the former person. So they will calm down for me to sort out the whole thing. So out of 50 food value is only 3 people that still behaving the same way they used to behave. So, and I'm not comfortable about the way they are behaving. So now all of them, they are telling me that I need to separate. You're good, you're proactive, you're different, you're 100 times better than the 3 people that we were managing. But I need to learn how to separate business and emotion. To be sincere till now, I'm still confused. I don't really understand what about it, how it is. So I want to ask, how can someone separate business and emotion?
So unless you explain further, my thinking really is that facility management is an emotional business. You
Exactly.
are affecting people's lives. If somebody doesn't like you, no matter how well you do your job, the person will not sign off, give you good credit for your job well done. So take, for example, I want to come and fix something in your space, in your office. I walked in there. I didn't even recognize you. I have my work order with me. I just go there, open the panel, fix what I need to fix, finish my job, drop the paper on your table and say, please sign for me. Now, the person will see that you have done your job well. The person will feel obligated to sign your paper if it feels that way, right? But the person will feel a sense of loss. You didn't even greet. You didn't even smile. You did not even show any personalization of recognizing my presence. You just go and do the job and then say sign and then you want to go. If that person is asked how you are doing as a facility manager tomorrow, what do you think the person will say about you? They say, they're just wandering up and down, doing one thing or the other. I don't even know what they're doing safe. But if you are the type that comes there, check on their welfare, check on how they are doing, chat them up a little bit, do the job, get them to verify the job is done, get them to tell you if there's any other thing, I came here for this one, but is there any other thing that's causing inconvenience for you? They see that you are emotionally invested in their care. They will have a different mindset towards you. In fact, those are the ones that if something is even wrong, instead of them to escalate, write email or call you or do anything, they will say, oh, is it not that guy? That guy used to smile when he comes here. Any day he comes, he will even ask. I'll remember to tell him. No, don't worry, leave it. When he comes, I will tell him. They will not escalate anything. Even if you do it and say, I'll finish it tomorrow, and you don't come tomorrow for some other strange reasons that you couldn't make it tomorrow, they will say, no, I trust him. This guy really cares about us. He wouldn't have left this thing undone if something serious had not happened, right? Because you have created a bond. So in FM, we need to create that bond. If you have 100 people and 3 don't like you, you need to do what you can to make sure the remaining 3 like you. Everybody should be understood and served, customized to what they need in your estate, okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Gift, last question. Gift, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for the class. Basically, it's not a question, it's a contribution concerning that emotions and the business. Because from his explanation, he's trying to create a legacy because he met a negative legacy. So, but he's trying to prove that he's different. So I just want to add something in this direction. So emotions and business in this concern, I've looked at it from 2 points of view. Number one, we have negative emotions in trying to react to a business, and we have positive emotions. So the negative aspect of this is that do not be discouraged in aiming at your goal, in trying to make them understand that you are different from the previous FM. So it will take time. Basically, we are humans. It will take time for you to enrich that emotion. Some of them will just easily overlook, oh, this person is different. But some of them it will take time. So if you want to react negatively, you'll be discouraged in aiming at your goal. So but if you want to react positively, you will continue and tell yourself that it will take time for you to win them to your side. Like what our coach just said, is emotional. So you must try to win those ones to your side. But you must understand that it will take time. It will not be just something that you just sudden. No, it will take time. Some are difficult and some are easy. So I just want to add to that.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
sir.
much. And thank
you,
you everyone for making it to class today. See you again in our next class. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Please don't fail to do your assessments and submit it now.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.